letting me speak. I want to take 5 or 10 minutes to speak with you both. So my name is Dave Quesnel. It's an odd name. It's Quesnel. I have an office down the street. I don't know if any of you folks noticed it. At the, down by the bridge. I have that downstairs floor there with the wall lights. Very exciting. We've been there for a few years now, and I originally, I believe I lived in there about 4 or 5 years ago, and obviously Lyle. I had to relocate. The person I shared an office with closed down his private practice there in that office. So I'm going to go straight to why I'm running because Klickitat County deserves a competent, skilled attorney that's willing to work hard and get the job done, and actually is willing to show up every day and has the knowledge and skills to lead an office to reduce the conviction rates and case delays that plague this current office. There's no question right now that Klickitat County, if you go to page 2 of the information I've handed out, these are charts that are provided by the state of Washington on the court website. The URLs are here. Then you look at the first, it's going through the performance of the current office. Go to the first chart. And you look at, this is the number of Superior Court resolutions in the most recent year that it's available. And you look at the columns for dismissals and guilty pleas. You look at our county, we have actually more dismissals than guilty pleas. This is the only county in the state of Washington that has more dismissals than guilty pleas. There's no other county that even comes close. This is the lowest conviction rate in the entire state of Washington. On average, when you look at the state totals, it's generally 5 guilty convictions for 1 dismissal. Not Klickitat County, it's over 50% dismissal. This is not acceptable. It needs to stop. Next chart, and these are, again, the charts provided by the state, and I've provided the information for every county that in leisure you can take a look at the numbers. When you look at the individual charges in Superior Court felony charges, again, we're the worst in the state. We average a ratio of 2 dismissals for every 1 conviction in Klickitat County. Now, in the state of Washington, if you look at the bottom totals, it's an average of 3 convictions for 1 dismissal. That's pathetic. That's truly pathetic. That's the worst in the state. There's 0 accountability for offenders that's occurring right now in Klickitat County, and it needs to stop. One of them, I believe, the most damaging statistics available from the state of Washington on the next page, and that goes into how long cases are pending in this county. The state sets, first 3 columns is information provided as to what the state suggests guidelines as to resolving cases. Now, frankly, the state guidelines are a little bit unrealistic. However, they're a goalpost to shoot for. Klickitat County fails miserable. If you look at the number of felony cases that resolved within 4 months, we're at 42.9%, worse than the state. That means less than half are getting resolved within 4 months. We look at the average, 63%. That's just the average. It's not the best. That's just the average. When you look at the 9-month total, we're second worst only to Ferry County, minuscule county. When cases are delayed that long, sometimes a year or 2 years out, even on routine cases, witnesses move away, prosecutors move on to other cases. There's just multiple problems that arise. Including one of the problems is this guy had dismissal rates. Again, the highest in the state. That's where we are. That's why I'm running. Because the citizens of this county, and I'm concerned for the residents and citizens of this county, that the high crime rates that are not being rectified by the prosecutor's office, and it needs to stop, and I intend to stop it. I have the leadership abilities and the education and training to do that. I came to the area about 7.5 years ago. I worked in the prosecutor's office for a little over a year. I wasn't satisfied with the regime at the time. I moved on. Began as a misdemeanor prosecutor. By the end of the year, I was handling about 1/3 of the felonies and most of the civil work. I practiced in Lyle for about 4 years, rolling those years before that. Before that, I worked at a large firm on the East Coast of New York City. I went to law school. NYU at the time, number 4 school. I think it's number 5. So I don't know what they're doing wrong. And then undergrad at the party that relishes being in court, relishes the engagement of both civil and criminal practice. We currently have an administrator that hasn't set foot in court except under subpoena to testify on behalf of the defendant in 4 years. It's completely unacceptable. Someone that does not share a case. It's led to a complete breakdown in the numbers documented by the state of Washington. It needs to end. It simply needs to end. The office needs leadership by a skilled and competent attorney that knows how to run an office and knows how to coordinate a team. It's a team effort. There's no coach there right now. So that's why I'm running. It's a little bit of my background. I have a Facebook page that, it's there at the bottom. You can stop by my office and give me a call if you have any more questions. And I appreciate the time on this Monday evening that I hear now. I know that lots of folks, looks like most of her office is here cheering me on, I'm sure. But I appreciate the opportunity to meet with folks. All right. Thank you.
Any questions?
Yeah. The present prosecutor, it seems that you're guilty without being proven innocent. That really upsets me. Are you going to be that way too?
Well, no, our Constitution guarantees the presumption of innocence. It's one of the
Not with the president.
it's one of the hardest. The United States of America is one of the hardest places in the world to convict someone because of the presumption of innocence combined with beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, what's going on is a lot of wildly misleading, inaccurate charging decisions that's led to overcharging on a routine basis, and when actually they take the time to look at something, they realize, oh, we screwed up, and either dismiss or they try to coerce the plea deal with themselves. That's what's going on right now. I firmly believe in the presumption of innocence and appropriate charging decisions that takes into account the burden that has to be demonstrated to a jury in every case to prove the guilt beyond reasonable doubt. It's not even a factor.
I respectfully disagree, but that's neither here nor there.
And just feel free to stop by or give me a call if there's any more questions.
You still in the office?
Oh, almost done.
All right.
Go ahead.
So you're talking about the delays that are happening?
Correct.
Isn't it true that most of those are because the defense counsel requests additional time, or in some cases the defense counsel actually steps down right before trial?
I'm only aware of a couple defense counsel that stepped down right before trial. But most of the continuances are based, I would say 75 to 80% are based on defense request. I've never heard of the current prosecutor's office objecting to continuance request. The judge makes a determination based on the arguments presented by the two sides. If the prosecutor doesn't object, the judge is going to grant it. To speed that up, force the defense attorney to explain why do you have a delay, make them do it in public, make them do it in front of their client, and embarrass them for not being ready to do their job. That's not going on right now. It's real simple. Put the pressure. Get these things moving. Don't play along. The defense bar is not your friends. They're people that do a job, and are getting 90% of the time paid by the taxpayers to do their job. Make them do their job in a timely manner so restitution is paid and victims are recognized.
But aren't you guaranteed under the Constitution the right to have a lawyer? If your lawyer steps down and requests maybe more time, aren't we allowed under the Constitution as one of our rights?
You have a right to prepared counsel.
And the judge also would grant you the right.
You don't need 9 to 12 months to have a prepared counsel to do a Class C felony. And trust me, if the defense attorneys know they're going to be humiliated making these requests, they're actually going to do their job and go on the weekends and stay late at night. You don't go to law school to work 9 to 5. This lawyer's not getting the pressure they need to get their job done. And if they want to stand there in front of the judge and say, I'm not ready, I haven't been able to do my job, and therefore it will prejudice the rights of the defendant, then the judge will make his determination. Ms. Matthews.
Mr. Quesnel, on
case that you stepped down on 6 days before trial just last month, isn't it true that you had also got multiple continuances claiming that your client had medical circumstances? And that the trial was set for a Wednesday, and on the prior Thursday, you filed a notice of substitution of counsel. So 2 days before the case was set for trial, the court had to grant a continuance, and this is in a sex offense case, had to grant another continuance. You say you've only known of a couple of people who stepped down before
Why don't you
trial.
talk to the person who works for you and you work for Lori and he.
I do work for Lori. I'll introduce myself. I'm the Chief Deputy Criminal Prosecuting Attorney, and Mr. Quesnel and I are aware of each other. I'd like to keep this civil, but when he says that only a few people stepped down, he's not telling you he's one of them.
Ms. Matthews, I have a conflict that my client, and you know darn well that I cannot comment on the case of what my client said or didn't say. There was a substitution that was agreed to without objection. Ms. Aaron consented to a continuance in that case. And the attorney that substituted in was ready to go to trial.
The attorney was
So
ready.
take your pot shots when I can't respond due to my ethical obligations.
All right. There was a case in December where you had a conflict with a client and you had to step down. Is that correct?
The client asked for new counsel.
That's correct.
Correct. I have no control over that. You know that as well as I do. So try to impugn my skills because that client had an issue, except in reality, in demanding new counsel, is not appropriate. It's not fair. And you know that, Ms. Matthews. Yes.
How many times have you been to trial and completely through a trial?
Shoot. 7 or 8, I believe. I think 4 or 5 misdemeanors. I believe 4 felonies.
How many of those have you won?
As a prosecutor, let's see where, I think it was 2. It's about 50-50. I think as a prosecutor it was 2 and 2, and defense is about 3 and 2. I haven't put those numbers together, but I believe it's about 50-50.
So 7 cases, 8 cases, and you've won 4 of them?
I believe so, but you can't. I haven't looked at the numbers. I cannot 100% expect this.
And just to follow up, Dave, when's the last time you had a serious felony trial?
Oh, a year and a half ago, gentleman's facing a horrific sentence.
A year and a half ago.
I believe so.
So, just curiosity, you are quick to criticize our office, but what specifically do you plan on doing to reduce these numbers, to make these numbers better? What policies, what procedures?
We're putting on pressure on the courts and the defense bar to speed up the resolution of cases, not engaging in endless negotiations. Actually, I expect my staff to be prepared on day 1 to move forward to trial on the speedy trial clock. To actually have weekly and monthly staff meetings so that attorneys sit down and talk about the cases and talk through issues like attorneys do in a professional office.
Well, we have a half-time judge, so we get 2 trials a month at most.
In 25 settings a year, in the last 4 years, there's been 100 and there's been 17 trials.
Okay, we get 2 trial dates a month.
Correct. And there's 4 trials last year.
Well,
I mean, 2 of them.
there was only
So
one
how's
active.
that?
There was only one active Superior Court trial attorney up until September of last year. So for 9 months, there was not a Superior Court attorney available.
Okay, so the inefficiencies and incompetence of the management of the office is your explanation for that?
No, I'm asking you what your plan is to reduce these numbers, because we can only get 2 trials.
Actually take part and do the part of the job. When you say there's one Superior Court trial attorney, that's absurd. There's 4 attorneys in the office. Why is there only 1? If there was an elected to actually get in there and do the job, it would relieve some of the stress.
So you're just saying the attorneys there are doing just fine, it's the leadership?
I'm not here running against the staff, and you know that.
Well, the numbers, that's the staff that's doing this. You know that we're the ones in the trenches doing the work.
And you're being poorly led.
So then your plan is to have monthly meetings to resolve that?
Actually,
Weekly meetings to resolve that?
in order for the staff, in order to obtain counsel from each other.
And I'm looking for specifics. What are your specifics? When you meet once a week with these prosecutors, what's your plan to speed up these trials? When we have 2 trial days a month, that's all we have. What is the plan?
The plan is to correct the deficiencies that are occurring now. You keep saying there's 2 a month. That's not even being taken advantage of at this time.
Well, it is.
No, there's 4 trials last year, Mr. Mayor. There's been 17
I've had 3 trials in the last 2 months.
There's 4 last year and 17 in our entire tenure.
So your plan then is to, I don't understand how you're going to fit
You're
more
choosing
trials.
not to comprehend. There's plenty of room for more trials. You yourself said that. You said there was 2 a month, correct?
We have 2 court
2 a
dates
month.
available. 2
A month.
court dates available.
Correct. 2 a month times 12 is what?
24.
Bingo. So why is there only 4 trials?
Well, we only had the 1 prosecutor
Because it's
available.
not, and again, because of poor management in the office. Because of the inability of your boss to actually help out and do your job.
I have a question on the dismissals.
You're just not going to accept your question because you asked one before, you kidding me? You're running for a prosecuting attorney. You need to ask
Isn't that
me
the whole
first.
office here trying to
I'm not even part of the office.
Okay, ask your question.
I just wanted to ask if in some of the figures that you have, for example, on the dismissals, are you taking into account the fact that, for example, very often when defendants have multiple cases at the same time and there's a global resolution, that all of the cases get consolidated into one for that global resolution. So,
There's always excuses for failure. I'm looking at the numbers provided by the state, and those numbers aren't.
okay. So you think that for judicial economy to merge all of the multiple cases, someone might have 2, 3, 4 cases into one case, they plead to
In my experience,
some-
that explains perhaps 10% of the numbers.
Okay.
That still leaves you with the worst in the county. And the state.
That's fine, and I appreciate your opinion. And the fact that also whenever anyone enters drug court, all of their cases are combined.
And I believe that counts for approximately 5%.
Okay.
That still makes you the worst in the county. And the state.
And the other percentage of cases that are sent from Superior Court down to Superior Court, which you and I have done, that Superior Court case gets dismissed, correct? That goes in, and then it's
And
handled.
that's reflective
And it's
of
handled in
and
district.
reflective of a court's
And-
charging decision that you're resolving things in
And
district
then
court.
it's handled in district court.
Because you mischarged it in Superior Court.
But isn't it true, Mr. Quesnel, that sometimes that's done because, like a victim will say, I really want this person to get treatment, and the only way they can get treatment, or they can get counseling, or they can get
It's next to
supervision.
impossible for a victim to get a hold of an attorney in your office.
Well, that'll be a separate issue, but these cases that get resolved in district court, isn't it often, and I'm sure you've had some, where what we're doing is we're trying to make sure that there is post-conviction supervision, and that is more important than the jail sentence to the victim and to the community. So that's a strong reason that we do it in order to get that supervision through adult probation, which we
Again.
can't get through the Department of Corrections.
Then why is it we're the only county that has to have the worst numbers in the state in order to hold people accountable? Why is that, Ms. Matthews? Why are we the worst, but somehow you're okay with that? Why is that?
Mr. Quesnel,
And why is this turned into a personal issue of, instead of an open forum to the public at large?
I'm just
If
asking
you
about
have these
some of the
questions, you could have the
questions.
courtesy of giving me a call instead of, telling people I plan on firing you and firing Julie Vance or these other rumors that
I
you're
didn't say
spreading.
that.
That's not true.
So, I have a non-personal question.
Let's go, and this is what, number 4?
Yeah.
Correct.
And I got 100 more after this if you'd like. But let me ask you this. In your experience, what is your administrative experience? What's the largest, I mean, we got 10 people in this law office. What's your experience in administrative experience in handling a 10 attorney or court staff and 4 attorneys? What's your
Administrative experience is generally limited to the supervision of the clerk. I clerk for a federal judge. I was in charge of dealing with all the interns and the assignment on the external, internal, interns on that. I've been a solo practitioner, and you know that as well as I do, as well as you were in the Socrates before, when she practiced. I've engaged in a multitude of settings of offices. I know what makes a good office function.
Again, the same question, the biggest office you've ran in is yourself, is a one-person law firm.
That's the only office I ever owned, yes.